they know everything.
Okay.
Yeah. But for instance, for first boys, they are just doing those, like for the elementary, those you just have a car, then you use the remote control. So the Arduino was a new thing to them, like to code with using the Arduino.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Karen, Ava was explaining they've had boot camps, and in the boot camp, they are not working to the theme because then they select out of that, and then the young people go forward. Then they'll brief them, and they'll become involved in the next stage. They'll take on the theme. So it's like a filtering model that they're doing.
I think that could work well, actually.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
because
Hello, Karen.
hi. It was good to fall in the middle of that discussion, actually. But I really think that can work well, especially for this project-based thing that Future Innovators is. You know, it's even quite hard how to start for teams. For example, if I look in the Netherlands, where a lot of teams also do first Lego League already, so the schools and the teachers are a little bit experienced, but still they find it hard. So doing a boot camp with a little bit wider theme, or with, I don't know, and not even a theme related to WRO, but then selecting like the promising, the kids that really have fun and really want to learn something, and maybe they
Yeah.
that can work actually quite well, I think. Yeah.
And I think just as you've said there,
Yeah.
Eva, they're completely new to it. So it's good to get them new and comfortable with what they're doing rather than giving them this big challenge from initially. So it's great. We're getting a lot of people.
Yeah.
Hi, Danny. Hi, am I correct? Sandrina? Or Sandrine, how do I pronounce?
Yes, it's Sandrine. Hello,
Sandrine.
hi everybody.
Hi, great to have you with us. I think
Thank
Karen
you.
and I,
Thank you for having me.
oh, well, we're thrilled. I think Karen and I will have a call with you at some stage on our own, if that's
Yes,
good. Yeah, brilliant.
yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
super.
So I'm just going to be listening today.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Danny. How are you?
Bennett, good and yourself. Hi, Corin.
Danny.
Are you extremely busy at the moment?
Yes, nationals this weekend.
Wow.
So,
okay, so thank you for taking the time. We won't delay too long.
Just praying for Sunday to happen.
Okay.
It's basically Dani is taking a brief moment from preparing the nationals and thought, let me just join a quiet Zoom meeting. Or it's like a break, a relaxing break. Or
yeah,
not.
you know what? I see myself smiling on the screen. It makes me happy.
It also makes me happy to see you smiling on the screen, Dan.
Yeah, good.
That's good to hear. I think we should have a few more joining us, so we'll give them a few minutes, but not too many minutes. I don't believe in waiting too long. Okay, so Brendan is joining us. Hi, Soraya, how are you?
Hi, Bernard. Hi, everyone. I'm good. How are you?
Hi.
You must be getting excited about this trip. Are you going with the teams?
I am,
Oh,
yes.
super. Okay, we'll get you to give us an update on that, so please.
They are really excited.
Oh, great. Okay, of course. And did they have to get passports? Or
yes, everything it's a journey.
Oh, wow.
The passports and then the visas, which are a nightmare,
Mm.
but it's finally done, and we had the answer yesterday. They wrote us that the passports are ready to be collected with their visas on finally.
Wow. I mean, we take these things for granted. It must be so huge for a young person.
I was telling Karen the other day, because it's insane the amount of trouble these guys went through to get it done.
I can imagine that. And we take it so much for granted, Bernard, that I will share a little secret that made me a little bit embarrassed, but I'm from Europe, of course, so I'm used to not having issues. One time I was invited to go to Russia, and like 3 weeks before, I thought it was quite close, but 3 weeks before I thought, oh yeah, maybe I need visa. And then I needed to go to the visa office, and there was this very strict Russian lady who basically looked at me like, what are you want to do? When are you going? I said, well, in 2 weeks. He like really looked like, and I said, yeah, but I have this letter here from the governor of Kazan, and she was really like, and I was like, oh, that was really stupid of me, because I kind of am so used not to have visa that I completely did not think about it. It is really bad, because I know how much trouble people usually need to go to get visa. So
and
so
as
spoiled we are.
well, yeah, it is true, Karen. Well, especially with Russia. And I see Brendan here, which reminds me that even when you have a visa, you have to be careful, because when we sent Brendan to Panama, we had to route him not through the States because his previous visa was Cuba. So we thought we had this image, and Brendan particularly had this image of him arriving to change flights somewhere like Atlanta, and the next thing it was like, oh, you were in Cuba. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think your previous one was like Jordan before that, I think, Brendan. So
yeah, that's not helping.
Raise a lot of red flags for the Americans.
Yeah. I had to go around the world twice before I got to Panama.
yeah. But again, it was because, if we'd had time to go and change a passport, it would have been easier, but you didn't have that.
No.
Look, we've a number of people in the room. Great to see you all. Linda, great to see you. I think we have Fatimata, is that the AI? I'm not sure on that. Vicky, I think you're in with us. Great to see you as well. We know you're in there somewhere. And we have Solomon coming from Uganda. And we have Valentine. So yeah. Uganda is in the house. Okay, so we have a thumbs up from Vicky. I'm basically just going to share. Didn't spend a lot of time doing a PowerPoint on this one, as you can see. So it's the updates, really just on what's going well, challenges, a Q&A with Karen, which I think, Karen, you need probably a good bit of time on that. And then if we have time, we'll finish off, maybe get some ideas, not particularly here, but you can put them in the chat, or you can even send them on to us about what next for CPD sessions for many of you. So they're kind of the areas that we're going to briefly look at. I just wanted to jump and start with you, Soraya, because, yeah, I mean, this is what it's all about, is getting young people to world competitions. And you've got teams going this month to Italy. Must be how many days away? Can you just contain your excitement and give us a short few minutes? And some of you who just joined, she's just explained to us the challenge that they've overcome, which is magnificent. They now have their passports and visas to collect today. So those of you who, Solomon and Valentine, just joined, you just missed out on that part. Okay, so over to you, please.
Thank you. So we are taking 2 teams to Italy, and they are really excited. It's their first time traveling anywhere. They didn't have passports. Some of them did not have ID cards, so they went through all the process. They come from another province, so they are not based here in Maputo. It took them 2 days to do the visa. Just submit the documents. They came one day, they had to sleep here and go back to the visa office in the morning. And then it's been like a month with questions from the embassy coming and going, but it's finally done. They have their passports and they have their visas, and they have their projects. We have 1 junior and 1 senior team. They are attending Future Innovators, and they are building their solutions. They asked us for some extra help, extra money to add some equipment, some materials to their equipment, because they are working with Beck's IQ kits, and they wanted some extra stuff to add. So we did that, and we have their presentations, their reports to be submitted. I didn't read it yet, but I noticed they arrived this morning, so I'll be going through it during the afternoon to see what they are what they are proposing. They are having a lot of trouble with language. They do not they do not speak English enough to present to a full presentation. So I can anticipate that they will have some trouble on that. Even if it's Italy, Latin-speaking country, they might get a little help from the judges on that. But I do anticipate some issues for them. Well, they are trying.
And just to answer the question, Mozambique, actually I answered the question to Sandrina instead of you, Danny. Mozambique is where Soraya is based, so
yeah,
not far from you, Danny. Will you be in Italy to judge, or are you waiting for Turkey, Danny?
Yeah, unfortunately, too busy now with our competitions to actually get to Italy. It's most unfortunate because I'd really like to attend an Open. But why I asked the question really was just for Soraya is, and certainly something which can grow, but we do limit it, is that we do have 3 African countries coming to our national finals this coming weekend. So there's some Swaziland teams and some from Kenya and Uganda. And so just in future, connect with me, because if you've got a team that you might want to attend our national competition, just to come and see a bigger competition, which you'll see now obviously in Italy too, but you know, just stay in contact, go onto our website, see what the dates are, and I basically allow invitations, but I limit, you know, the number of teams per category to come so that we can cater for them, because obviously our focus is the national qualifications.
That's great, Danny. Perhaps for next year we can arrange that, because as I was speaking to Karen earlier, I mean last week, we will have one extra team to attend next year, because we will be running one competition in October, so they cannot go anywhere this year. And then to make sure that our calendar is in line with the finals, we will move to July or August on 25. And that means that we will have one team qualified from this year and one team qualifying next year. So it will be good if we can take one to the final and one to an open championship.
Super. So that's actually what we're here for, is to make those connections and have those discussions that usually don't pop out when we're doing emails. So Danny, thanks. I think that's a fantastic offer. And I think it's a brilliant opportunity for some of the teams to get the experience still within the continent and not have the travel that's involved and the expenses involved. Ethiopian, Solomon and Valentine, thanks so much, Ray. I just want to move on. Solomon, Valentine, do you know the teams from Uganda who are participating? I think you're all kind of connected together. Okay, we haven't got you.
Hello.
Hi,
Yes.
Valentine.
Hello, everyone. Yes, there's an organization that is sending a team to South Africa. I think a team of 2 or 3 students to South Africa, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, because you've been connected with them before. Do you want to give us any little update on where you are at the moment? Any challenges you have? Anything that we could help solve, or is everything going really good for you? And I'm understanding the schools are just back because you're just back after the summer. Okay, back to you, Valentine.
Yes, we resume school next week. So that means that we resume the in-school workshops as we gear towards our national championship.
And have you a date at the moment when you're aiming for?
Sorry?
have you a date for your national championship at the moment?
Honestly, no, not really.
Okay. You're
We
gonna be in
have
October.
to connect to the schools first.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. 'Cause I know from talking to Rwanda that for them it's too challenging to get young people actually out of the country. So again, they're gone back into October. Eva, can I get a quick update? Because some of the people on the call missed you at the start because you're in boot camp season at the moment, if I could describe it like that. You want to give us a quick update of where
Yes.
I think even today you still have work going on.
Yes. So yeah. So we have started our boot camp. We are on the second school out of 5. So we'll be expecting to get 10 teams from each school. And then from each school, we'll select 2 teams, one for junior and one for senior, to represent the school. And then 10 teams will join the national finals on 4th October at the University of Dar es Salaam. Yeah, so we are on the second school. We have finished today. The challenge we are facing for government school student does not have any basics on computer coding and programming, and they don't even have computer labs. So what you are doing, you are going with their own computers and office computers. Then we start from the very scratch. So we start very early and we finish very late for government schools, but they are very interested and they're very happy with this opportunity. So we are looking forward to finish before 8th. But I have a question to Karen, maybe the second agenda I didn't hear well. So my question was, we have 2.
Yes.
Yeah, so how many teams do Tanzania should bring to WRO finals? Because in the end, you will have one junior team and one senior team. Do we bring all the 2 teams, or we just bring one team which will do the best? Because the judgment is different and the competition is
I can say
different
something.
because they have 10 junior teams and 10. Thank you.
Yeah, I can explain something about that. So in principle, there is always a qualification table. So how many teams a country can send also depends on the number of teams in the country. That is a first. That said, you don't necessarily have to bring all the teams. So you're not obligated to bring teams to the final. So maybe, if you have, I don't know, if you have 500 teams, you don't have to bring suddenly many teams. So it's also about what is possible. But I have something I can share here because I actually put some things on a slide because I thought, oh, I can use that later. Again, anyway.
While you're getting that ready, can I just say and just answer your question, because actually I've been messaging in the chat, but it's poor Sandrine. I've been sending the messages to. So yes, Ethiopia were due to be on the call. However, we are recording this, so I think you can proceed and then we can send it to them so that we'll get the information.
Yes, so
thanks for this.
Yeah, that was indeed one of my questions because I've been talking to Ethiopia as well.
Yeah.
I have made this slide which I can use to explain a little bit better because that was not my intention. If you look at my slide, you will see this this little image with the table with the different colors, and that is actually the qualification table for this season. And for future innovators, you will see that the number of teams you have in your country. Basically,
Can I just interrupt you there? We're kind of seeing a full screen, so it's actually difficult to see the table.
Okay.
Is it possible you can? I'd say if you just had the slide, if you just go to the bottom right hand corner and click, it will expand the slide, won't it? And then okay. Even if you can increase that a little bit.
Yeah, I can. Oh,
sorry, no.
No, I can. I should do it in a different way because this by the way, this picture is just available.
Yeah, this is brilliant. Yeah,
look,
absolutely.
Now I'm in the slides anyway.
When you're my age, you see, and you're
no, I know
you're not like Danny wearing the glasses. I'm too vain to wear the glasses. Actually,
I cannot even.
By 40, I had 2 cataracts, so I got free. What would I call it? I got free surgery for I nearly lost my eyesight.
4 different types of glasses. No, I know
anyway,
the feeling. I cannot even chop some garlic anymore without reading glasses. So, but what I wanted to say, if you can see better now, and I can make it even better because I was basically only referring to future innovators now. So we are counting, of course, the teams in your official competition, and for all countries, I think that is important to know. So like Eva said, basically they want to do boot camps and then select the best teams from the schools to represent their school at the competition. So which could easily mean that maybe you are giving boot camps to, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 students. But if you will select 10 teams from each age group, you could end up with 20 official WRO teams. I think that you can look at it in that way. Then you can see in the qualification table that up to 19 teams, you can send one team to the international final. If you have 20 to 44 teams, you can send two. So in principle, if you end up indeed with 10 teams in junior and 10 teams in senior, you would have 20 teams. You could offer both junior and senior a trip to the international final in Turkey. However, I also realize that it might be a little bit different than in the Netherlands, where you can just say to the team, well, congratulations, you can make a trip to Turkey. Good luck with getting money for the tickets, etc. So it is, of course, hard work. It is expensive. So it really would depend on what is also feasible for you. It would be perfectly okay to say, we will select one team in the end, and that will go to the international final. And it is even possible, let me see, I have a slide for that as well, but now I make my image so much bigger. For all the countries, actually, what you would need to do in all cases, so even if you end up not sending teams to the international final, we would like to know your team numbers in the season. And it means that every season we will ask you to fill in our event registration system all the teams you had in your finals, in your national competition. And I've here as an example the team numbers for the Netherlands actually. So you can see we did do Robo Mission, and that was where our most teams were, but we also did Future Innovators. And in the Netherlands, we had 2 elementary, 2 junior, and 3 senior teams, which basically means we as Netherlands can send one team to Turkey. All of you, I would ask, when you know how many teams are in your competitions, to go in the system and basically select, okay, I want to fill my team numbers for this season. Because we use it for statistics. We use it to basically open up the registration for the international final for you. So if you don't fill your numbers, you can also not register because the computer calculates. And we need to use it also for the membership fee. So 3 very important things for us, that we need to know your team numbers. And of course, I would also like to show my colleagues that we have been reaching quite a lot of teams in all these different countries. But I wanted to jump to, and maybe that is interesting for more of you also, to how to select these teams for Future Innovators. Because, for example, in Eva's example, she said, okay, I will have 10 junior and 10 senior teams. Now, there are actually 2 options to work with the judging for that. And I think, for example, Dani in South Africa, they have more teams. So it is likely that also at their national final, they will judge all the teams in their own age group. So one group for elementary, one group for junior, one group for senior. And if you have multiple teams or many teams, of course, that is the best option. It is easy. But it is also possible to put all the Future Innovators in one group and judge them all together. We did that in the Netherlands because we only had 7 teams. And basically, I have an example here of the different scoring sheets for the different age groups, which is too small for you to read, Bernhard. I realize that, but but if you go to the scoring sheet, you will see that the total number of points in each age group is 200. And it means that in your judging groups, if you work with, of course, you have like a little meeting up front and you explain to the judges what is the idea. But it is possible to to judge all the teams looking at their age, of course. So if you would take a look at a project of 10-year-olds, you would probably be able to say, okay, hey, for 10-year-olds, I as a judge think they have a really good robot model. I will give that an 8. And then you move on to a team with 15-year-olds, and you also look at their robot model, and then you think like, yeah, okay, these guys are 15 years old. I'm not so impressed by this robot model. I will give it a 5, for example. So you score 1 to 10. And this way, in the end result, it is possible to put all the ages in one group and then end with with an overview that can easily be that, I don't know, the elementary team wins because according to their age, they actually did better than, I don't know, the senior team that also participated. So there are 2 ways of judging. Either put everybody in one age group, and if you have 10 junior, 10 senior, that is a nice limit, of course. You can judge the 10 teams and then make a top one, but you could also put them in one age group. And then at the end decide, okay, this is the team that actually won. We will take, or we will try to get that team to Turkey. So that is I hope, an answer for you. Or at least can make you start thinking, of course, and then you can always ask more questions. Always.
Any further question, Eva? Karen? Okay, Eva?
Yes.
Yeah. While you have the floor, Karen, you can keep going, if that's okay, because I see you have a couple of slides there.
Yeah.
I have many, but I don't need to talk about them all. Eva, you have another question?
No, that was one. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a question from me mostly. I know that of course everybody will be doing some form of future innovators. So I have put a few slides together, basically explaining a little bit more about what you could do with future innovators and what we would expect for like I'm making brackets here, but like an official WRO competition, in the hope to give you some ideas. So I could do that and quickly go over them.
Yeah, I think that's worthwhile because again, we're recording, so it'll be available to others. And I know some will be running competitions just in the chat, because those who will see the recording won't see the chat. Vicky has said, in answer to the really good example you gave, Karen, about how a junior team can be compared with a senior. Vicky has said, and she's coming from Zimbabwe, which again might be another possibility next year with South Africa, Danny. And she said, yes, this is possible. We had a junior team come in 4th place out of 19 teams we had at the finals. Okay. Back to you, Karen.
By the way, my judges in the Netherlands also said that they did not find it really easy. Because you do need to switch, of course, looking to 15-year-olds and then to 8-year-olds. But if you have like some, flexibility in your head saying, okay, this for 15 years old, or this for 8 years old, it does work. And there's always a discussion at the end, but I will get to that. So quickly about future innovators, I know that Dani has also shared information about the judging process, etc. I made these slides more from the idea. I know that many of you are working with pilots, or for example, first with boot camps and then selecting the teams. So the way, of course, we have written up these competition rules, and the competition is coming a little bit from a different perspective, where kind of we seem to assume that there's already like a robotics team and robotic stuff in the class and some background experience. So I know that it's not always the case in many situations. Something that we want to work on as well for next year is to get more materials actually from this basically starting level. But what would be important, and what you would also see if you bring a team to an international final. So in our ideal world, we have 2 important aspects. Future Innovators is a robot competition. So we ask teams to build and present a working robot model. Now, on many regionals, also in the Netherlands, we do see teams that we think like, yeah, it's like it has sensors and it does something, but is it really a robot? So this is a hard thing for teams, for coaches, sometimes also for judges to think what is actually a robot model. So also for us something to improve, to explain better what it is, but the rules do say something about it. So in your preparations, you could, I think, at least say to teachers or coaches, give them a little bit guidance. A robot model is a device with several mechanisms, several sensors, and several actuators. And it has one or more controllers, and it should be able to make autonomous decisions. So I had an explanation, I think, a couple of weeks ago, where I say, okay, if a team makes, like, for example, a tea making machine where there is a nice robot thing and it takes the tea bag and it puts it in the cup and it pours water in it and then it waits 3 minutes and then it takes the tea bag out. For us, that is not really a robot. It's more like a machine, like a mechanic machine. So it is quite hard. But in the end, we are looking for something that can make autonomous decisions or do something with the information it gets. Now, like I said, even also in the Netherlands, many teams don't really get to that stage, and they find it hard to explain, for example, why their machine or why their robot is making autonomous decisions. But for the judging part, it is a good thing to also see, okay, this project looks super cool. The other maybe is not looking so cool, but actually looking at if it's a robot, the less cool machine is more a robot than the, super cool thing. So, and it's hard to judge. I think Dani knows that also from experience, and to get the teams there. But it is something that in the coming years, we want to help teams focus on a little bit more. So now you are starting, it's good to get that seed and that spark into it right from the beginning. So that is one part. Then the other, and for example, if you do boot camps, you can do something with a very different theme. Of course, you don't have to follow the WRO team, but in a competition where you would want to select a team that maybe goes to an international final or wins the WRO competition in your country. Ideally, of course, the competition should be connected to the theme of the season, which this year is Earth Allies. And in the game rules, the game explanation, there are two sub-themes that the theme that the team can do something with. And is can your team develop a robot model that helps to make a part of our modern lifestyle more sustainable? Which they could do a lot with that theme. Or can you build a robot model that can help to prevent damage from natural disasters or work to recover from their impact or prevent them? So for the official WRO competition that you do, it would be beneficial to stick to that theme, of course, because then the teams are also prepared. Okay, now we have won this competition. We maybe get the chance to go international, but then they should know that they are the judges would actually be looking at, does it fit in the theme? There's a question, I think, from Solomon.
Thank you very much, Karen. I just need your clarity here about the robot solution. And I want maybe to bring up a scenario and you guide me whether that would be a machine or a robot. So in a case where we have maybe a landslide, and then I make my solution, which moves maybe the people who have been rescued from a given place where the landslide has happened to maybe a place where a stagnant place. So that place is fixed for transferring the people. There are two points which are fixed. One is where the landslide has occurred, and another one is the shelter for rescue. So if my robot just moves, has been given information to move from between these two places, is that a machine or it's a robot solution? Thank you.
Yeah. Now I'm not actually a judge in Future Innovators, but so that is I think it would really depend on on how it works. So if, for example, in the real world situation, yes, you might give robot coordinates, and then it would still need to decide, for example, okay, I wanted to drive here, but now there's a big tree lying there, so I will, figure out a new path to come there. Or I wanted to drive here, but I sense that it's too hot there, and maybe there's a fire. I will need to make a new route. So that, I would say, is making autonomous decisions. What you see a lot, of course, is robot models, because you cannot make a real robot and present it at the event that actually can carry people. And what we then see a lot is that, for example, there is like on the table there is they have drawn like a floor map of the place where the disaster is, and then basically they code the robot, which like they follow a line from the disaster place to the shelter place. And then I would say it is not really a robot model, because basically you tell it to follow the line and it goes from A to B following the line. So, but there's a very big gray area. But it should be as close as a robot as possible. So yeah, and indeed it should, you're writing in the chat, so really it should be able to make own decisions. But even there, of course, there is it's always a gray area. But we want to, so the thing is, I think we want to encourage the teams to think a little bit further than, okay, our robot model can detect if something is red, and then it does the one thing, and something is green, then it does the other thing. Yes, that is also part of it, but then it needs to do a little bit more with that. So, and then again, you will see a very wide variety within in teams, I think, on how they approach. And there was a question from Valentine, if that mentors are asking if they can submit projects under another category.
I probably would take that when I was going to answer it. I think, Valentine, that's very much up to yourselves as national coordinators. I suppose we're doing our best to promote future innovators. However, particularly when you're at early stage here, we definitely would rather have people submit under any category than not submit at all. And I think particularly when you've got young people who may be enthusiastic about it. So that would be my personal view on it. I would, yes, accept the, I would accept the projects. However, that's up to yourselves. And again, as I would always suggest, we want to focus as much as we can on future innovators.
Yeah.
Ava has her hand up as well. Sorry. Now you can come in on that. Anyone else wants to come? Ava?
Yes, I have two questions, Karen. The first one, so do students need to bring their final robotic solution from the national finals to international finals, or after winning, what do they bring to the international finals? Because the other thing, we didn't manage to register on WRO because you haven't paid yet. I think maybe we'll pay before the deadline, but
I think you can
the
register.
registration,
yeah.
we can register without, we tried last week, but we didn't manage. You said you need to pay first to register your teams.
Yeah, I think I can double check, because in principle, and that is for the normal season, and this season for many of you is a late start. In principle, we have one leverage for all countries to pay us in time, because they need to pay in time. But if they have not paid yet, they cannot register teams for the international final until we manually say they can. I think for you it should be open, but what could be the case if you have not filled your team members for the season yet? The computer or the robots behind the system cannot calculate how many teams you can send. So you only get your qualification slot after you have filled your team numbers. So that could also be the problem. But I can double check. Of course. But I think that might be the problem, because this year for you, Tanzania, and I think also for Ethiopia, because they were really late, it does not make sense to close registration for you, because otherwise you will run into trouble with everything. That is not the idea, of course.
Yeah.
Can I
And
just
how
ask?
about the robotic solution student will make in Tanzania from their national finals? Do they bring them to the international finals, or it's going to be another competition?
No, it's the same theme, and actually, what happens? So many, especially if there's a little bit more time, so it's very okay for teams that win their national qualification and basically are qualified to go to an international event to continue working on their project. One part is, for example, that for an international event, and Soraya knows now because her teams need to do something. The team needs to present a project. I'm losing the word here. Description. So they need to upload a document, but they also need to make a video of their project. But what many teams do is they take the time between their national event and the international final to, of course, work on their presentation, maybe work a bit further on their model, etc. So the competition is basically the same as at your national final. The theme is the same. There's no changes. The only thing they need to do extra is, apart from their project report, that was the word I was looking for in my head, they also need to upload a video. And that can be I explained to Soraya, so the judges in principle need these reports and these videos to help them before the competition get an idea of what they are going to judge. So they think, oh yeah, this report I read, I had this question for this team because this was not clear for me. So it's an extra help for the judges also to that in Turkey I probably need to, I don't know, judge 24 teams or something, so to be able to prepare. Now this video, sometimes a team has like very tech savvy kids and they can work with video editing, etc. So I said to Soraya, sometimes you see a video that's almost like a Hollywood movie, and sometimes it's just like almost like this. Yeah, well, this is our robot and it does this and this. So everything go. The core of the video is, of course, that it helps the judges and the audience understand the team and the robot model a little bit better. Okay, I think judges and Dani can agree. Of course, if the video is more has more information, then it's a better video because they understand the project better. But the judges will not look out. Oh, this was a Oscar-worthy Hollywood movie. This team is much better than the one that had the handheld selfie thing, because that is not what the judges should be looking at, and they know that. So
I see Danny nodding in agreement with you. Do you want to comment on that, Danny? And just if you're coming off mute, the other thing, Karen, as you mentioned videos, one of the suggestions I've got here is there, or from Linda on the team, is there a bank, let's say, is there, what would I call it, a channel of videos or videos from previous winners that would help people say, that is what a robot is, as opposed to what we've been discussing there? If that's a possibility that we can send that on afterwards, I don't know.
In the past we uploaded the top 10 teams their videos on our YouTube channel.
Oh, super.
And that was before COVID. What you did see there, but you see also there are enormous improvements. So even only with your phone and I don't know what app, even with your photo app, you can make, titles, etc. What you see in those top 10s, that some videos are actually very bad, very bad. And the team is still ended in the top 10. So it also shows that the video is not everything. Those are on our YouTube channel. So those are quite easy to share. And I can ask my colleagues, because we are working on Future Innovators. So they have been doing stuff with the videos from past years. So we have not published those, but maybe they are available somewhere. But from the older years, at least there is a first benchmark. We don't want to scare away the teams also, but some really like to make something good looking out of it. So it's also for them to show their creativity and learn more. In the end, it can also be something that is really fun. But they should focus mostly on the robot model and explaining that.
Yeah, if I can add just a little something there, and what Corin said is all obviously totally relevant. Most importantly is and what she said is exactly that. So I'm obviously not judging teams at the moment. When I judged teams in the past, I would actually have prepared questions, etc., for each team that I would judge at a competition, pre-competition, having seen the project report and the video. The video definitely it helps you to get an understanding of the team itself, and also the video is really also about the team and you know what, this is presentation skills. So it's actually meeting the personalities, you know, and they definitely show themselves again when you're obviously doing the live stuff. So from a video perspective, again, you don't get any points for having a video, or for not, you don't get any points for the video or the quality of the video. But certainly when we judge at the internationals, obviously when we're judging, and certainly when we're deliberating, for example, top 10 or 15, if a team did not submit a video, then obviously, you know, it affects their ranking, even if it's in the top 10, because that is a negative impact on the judges' opinions of what you've presented to them. The other thing I just wanted to mention from a scoring perspective is, you know, you look at the, when I train here, and in fact, we've just been through the process where a lot of our teams actually hadn't seen a score sheet before. You know, so from a mentor perspective, it's really, really critical to indicate to teams the score sheet and the value of the points for each one of those topics within the score sheet, because then you know where your focus areas should be, number one. And then secondly, the kids have an idea. They can see where the points are coming from. And then it's easier for the mentors to relate to the kids, saying, you know, here I'm scoring you, you know, a 3 out of 10. And do you understand why? Because, you know, because this is lacking. So those two things. The other thing, just from an African perspective, is, you know, the score sheet itself is also quite daunting. You know, the topics are there, they're quite technical, etc., etc. And when you're starting up, you know, it is possible that you don't actually, you can exclude some of those topics from a scoring perspective. You don't have to cover all those topics. If you know who you're working with and have an entry-level competition where you know that they, Eva, I think it's your, Eva, can you mute your, thank you, oh, yes, just to exclude, for example, so the national organizer in the country can actually speak to some of the teams and say, okay, where are we strong, where are we not strong? And typically challenge them, but you don't have to include every single one of those topics, you know, in your provincial, regional, and the international final. And in fact, even to your national final, you don't have to. We certainly do. We've got 2 teams going to Turkey this year. And between the national final and the final, those teams actually get assisted by our future innovator judges around the country. There are judges, not even myself, and they're sitting on live presentations, because effectively what you're looking for eventually is all the work is there. The product is there. The solution is there. Obviously, the theme is there. Make sure the theme is right. You know, we have teams coming to the international final where where actually it actually doesn't adhere to the theme. And there, what we do is we still judge the team, because we can't punish the team for the trainer or the coach or the mentor not having made sure, or the national organizer for that matter, having made sure. But so, and then you assist those teams to actually then qualify within all the topics to go to the international final. Sorry, I can talk for ages, so stop me.
Well, but both of you, we could listen for ages, which is great. Thank you. It's just fantastic information.
Already thinking we don't have ages, but like Dani said, and that is what I wanted to actually stress, or at least make important. There are explanation documents available for both the judges and the coaches about the scoring rubrics. So the aspects that you see here, they are described. So for each of these lines, basically is described what the judges should be looking at, and if it's also there for the coach. So in principle, as a teacher, you could say, okay, team, we have, I don't know, you have this idea and the creativity. The judges are going to look at these aspects. Does it actually follow there? That said, you know, there is a level from having a starter, you know, starting really something with teams, or having teams that are more experienced, and for a regional and a national final and an international final. But these documents are there to help both judges and coaches, teachers, to also understand the project a lot. So I would definitely share those documents. They are all in the shared folder, in the cloud folder, and we can, you know, explain again what is important to share. And a general thing I think about judging at events, especially, for example, at the level of a national final, I think it is nice to in the way it is being judged, to keep it quite close to an official WRO event. So we always recommend to have at least 2 judging rounds with 2 different sets of judges, because everybody looks at a different thing. So some judges might be more technical, others might be more like, I don't know, from a commercial background. They can look more at presentation and how you sell your project. Plus, you know, for yourself, if you have 2 or 3 presentations, at the end you think, well, the second one was really the best, because in the first one I really screwed up, and the third one more, but the second one was best. So it also gives the team more confidence that if one, you know, presentation does not go so well, or if the robot suddenly does not move, it happens also at international finals, then of course you can correct it, but you also know that you have another opportunity, or you can say, oh well, but thank goodness the first one went really well. So it's just a fairer perspective. And I would have a tip, actually coming from my own visit to, I was in the USA, I think my colleagues were just in Singapore, and there we also saw that it's with your judges, it's very important that you have a good judge meeting before you actually start judging. I can tell you both countries failed a little bit on that perspective, both USA and Singapore, which ended it. In the end, it all went well, but some judges did not even realize they should score like a 1 to 10 points. So 1 were very bad and 10 were very good, because there was no judge meeting and they never had seen these forms, these scoring forms. So to make a good event for the children, it's really important that you also do the best preparations you can do. I realize it's not always possible to, you know, to do it in the very best way, but sending judges information before, having half an hour before the event to basically get everybody aligned in the same way, it prevents issues midway. So that about future innovators. I had
I'm going to add one more thing, if I
yes.
may. Certainly something which I've done for the last 14 years, going to the internationals, and it has been easy for me because I've been involved in future innovators. But you know, obviously we as judges receive all the reports from all the countries and all the age groups pre-competition. And certainly what I've done every time I've been at a competition is to, once the results are free, etc., is, you know, we always have 2 or 3 physical paper reports from each one of those categories that go into the judging room. And whilst the competition is on, I'm collecting sort of, you know, 1 or 2 from the top 5 in each age group, which I then bring back home to South Africa. And
so you are
I have a live.
Well,
no, I actually use those as examples to teams around the country that have never done it before, and I actually share those reports with them so they can actually see a physical report and a report which was very good at international level. So when we talk about the videos, Karen, and the team working about it, and I know that there are obviously resources going to be available coming, you know, going forward next year, is that something to consider, because we sit with these PDF reports, which we've all received, is that effectively, you know, we take 2 or 3 from each age category, and in the top 10, which we can share with on the platform, which you'll be utilizing as resources and for training, because I think it's a big assist.
Yeah. No, definitely, and it's also definitely part of our growing Future Innovators project to make more of these examples available and to show also, okay, these were the top 5 teams or the top 3 teams. This is their reports, this is their video, this is their project. So you can learn from that. Maybe that learning is actually mostly for the teams that actually make it, from national level up to the up to international events, because it's not always something that is feasible for all the teams at the regional level. If there are teams in the Netherlands, if I would show the report of the winning team or the video, they would look like, huh, because they are really not at that level yet. But it's for you as judges and organizers, but also for coaches, it is to know what you should be or could be aspiring towards to, as long as it's clear that and it's mostly in robo missions, sometimes less in Future Innovators, but as long as it's clear that in the end our competition is meant for this whole group of children, from children that have never worked with robotics before up to kids, like Eva said, in the private schools that know a lot already. We are a competition meant for everybody. So it's not that you are not a loser if you are not at the Olympic level yet, of course. That is something that you could work towards. But I think that is clear for everybody. I'm also looking at the time, but I had one slide that I think might be good to just briefly go over, because if you look at the rules for Future Innovators, you will see that the teams need to have a 2x2x2 booth, and that they should have 3 walls, etc. So it might look like the top picture, but that is actually a picture from one of our international finals. So that is the Olympic level. We ask from host countries at international events to have a booth with the name of the team on top, and to have 2 or 3 walls where they can hang posters and a table, etc., etc. At regional events or a national final, you don't have to accommodate that. The team needs to have a table so they can show their project, of course. The team needs to have electricity. The team wants to sit on a chair during the day, probably. And a place to hang a poster or decoration or anything that you can think of that can make that possible. That is okay. I've seen events in Germany where there was just one table, and then with tape they put like a 2x2 meter square on the floor, so the team knows, okay, we can use this, we cannot go outside. I have 2 extra pictures here. Is one from Singapore where they have these cool project cardboards. I also saw those in the USA. We don't have those in the Netherlands, I think. But it's basically just a table they had there and some space to hang a poster. The bottom one is from the Netherlands, where we had the benefit that there was these movable walls that they could use for a poster. But so don't be discouraged by the completely professional thing that you would see at international events. That is really not needed. It's basically they know they should not go over 2x2. And if there's limited space, if you tell the teams up front, they can work with it, of course. But they would be ideally able to make a robot model that is 150 by 150. It should fit in their booth. So I don't expect that at a regional level, but it does happen. So that space they would then need to have.
Is that it, Karen? Are you?
Yeah, I was thinking.
Pausing?
So those were my basic slides for the Future Innovators competition, to basically find a middle ground is not the right word, but to find something between, okay, we are at the level of pilots and more bootcamp style, up to what is actually a real WRO competition. And I was hoping this helped you a little bit, at least in determining what to do. I will share this whole thing with slides, I think, later, because I have something. You can use the WRO scoring system if you want to. You can also just think this year we will just have an Excel sheet with the slides. and I would have some extra information for the teams that want to register for the international final. But I can also share that, and there's an explanation video on the website anyway. And then if anybody has questions, they can always reach me, of course. The key is, first you need to put in your team numbers, and then the computer says how many teams you can bring to the event.
Thanks, Karen, for your clarity. And thanks for to both you and Danny. This has been fascinating, and I think it's fascinating as well for everyone who's here, but also those who we will send this out to. Is there anyone with us at the moment who wants to ask a question? I see Linda agrees with it would be a great idea to share the reports. I do, just on a point of information, again, following up what Danny said, we ran a pilot last year in Kenya where we had young people from the Google Developers Club who actually went out and they supported some of the teams who were preparing for the final. And particularly in Kenya, the young people really weren't familiar with presentations or the presentation skills. So they knew the background, that it was to mentor, not to actually get involved in any way. So we're going to replicate that, and hopefully with a number of countries this year, it can be done online and it can provide some support. But we will be back to you with, first of all, we've got to recruit from the Google Developers Club, who are usually university students. One of them wrote a very positive post on his experience last year. Anybody else? As I'm sure people are moving on to other calls. No. Okay.
I'd just like to.
Yes, Danny, please. Thank you.
After having spoken about having a standard basically for the report, the project reports in the past, we had a working group during COVID, etc., and Corin, the template which we developed, which sits in those rules, is definitely working really, really well. The other thing which has worked really well and worked well in South Africa this year is obviously the front page, so that there's a standard front page with the team, because when you're judging and you can't remember a project, you know exactly where to go and look to remember the team name, and also the most important part of the working solution of the robot, which then triggers your mind as to making a decision about why this one is ahead of that one, etc., etc. The other thing, just with Vicky, who I know has been on the calls before, just as a Zimbabwe team, perhaps coming to South Africa next year, we've also just started a brand new regional in Limpopo in Polokwane, which is probably about maybe 5 hours drive from Harare. But for teams like yours, it's not always just about coming to our national competition. You can certainly obviously attend our regional provincial competition depending on date availability.
Brilliant. Thanks, Danny. It's fantastic.
Danny just suddenly made me a bit embarrassed, because I thought, oh yeah, this front page, is it still in the rules? And I said it is in the rules, the template for the front page, but it's still the 2022 Germany version. And nobody said something about that for the whole year. So that's actually funny. It doesn't matter for the front page template, but basically it has the logo of the Germany event 22 on it. Now I have myself a new task to make a front page that everybody can actually use for this season, which is more nice for Turkey, of course, if the Turkey logo is on there.
I always say when we go looking for something, we always find other things that we didn't realize we'd lost. So
crazy. And it's probably something where you at one point thought, oh yeah, this is the last thing that we need to change before publishing the rules, and then completely forgot. So no big deal, but also not very smart of us.
Super. Okay. If you're finished, are you okay, Karen?
I'm
Brilliant.
I'm okay.
Thank you for all your preparation that went into that. Thank you so much, Danny, for joining in as well and for sharing your experience. Special thanks to all of you with questions. Soraya, best of luck in Italy. This is exciting. We need to see
Soraya soon. So
yeah, we need to see some social media. We'll talk to you about that, because that'll be fantastic to highlight. I mean, I think it gives encouragement to every one of the other countries around to see that you're going to an open final.
Yeah.
It's a world final.
Excellent, Soraya. We've got 2 teams from Johannesburg going to the Italy final as well, I think in junior and senior robo mission. And the coach's name is Judging in Future Innovators category, and his name is Sean Hampton Cole, and he's so connect with him when you're there. Tell him I gave you permission to introduce yourself.
Okay, I will.
His name is
Thank you.
Sean Hampton Cole, but you'll see the South African contingent here.
That Sean part sounds very Irish. To say we were all nodding, and it's like an Irish name, so there must be
I
some.
only know he's a redhead because I see him cycling, and he's got very hairy red legs.
That does sound Irish. The red legs is much the red hair.
I will recognize him now.
Exactly. Yeah. You could just go up and say, which generation Irish are you? And he'll probably be able to tell you. Okay, guys, as always, look, what's important is we have a good laugh as well as having some really serious work. And I think we've achieved that again today. So thank you all. Thanks for the time. And we'll tidy this up and get it up and send it out to people online. Great. Keep up doing the great work. All of you who are here on the call, Soraya, Ava, Solomon, Valentine, and I think Joy, you've come from, if I'm correct, you just joined, but we're just finishing. I think you probably have joined us from Sao Tome, if I'm correct, maybe. But anyway, we can follow on that one. Thank you all for a great time. Brilliant.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
And Sandrina, sorry, as well.